It's not a joke or a lie when they say practice makes perfect. Once you've done something a couple times, it's easier to silence that voice and say, well, I've done it before and I didn't die. Or I've done it before and I did it well. Or I've done it before and it was okay. Keep practicing, keep working at it, and eventually it'll be a piece of cake.
Meet Blessing Imonikhe, an on-air presenter for television and radio, an event host, and entrepreneur from Edo State.
My name is Blessing Imonikhe. I'm an on-air presenter for TV and radio. I'm also an event host and an entrepreneur. As for my background, I grew up in the city of Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria, with my parents and my siblings. On my dad's side, I'm Edo, and on my mom's side, I'm Yoruba. And my 3 siblings are a big sister and 2 brothers because I'm the last born. When it comes to my education, I did primary and secondary school in the city of Ibadan. And then I did go abroad to Malaysia to study broadcasting and journalism for a couple of years before coming back to Nigeria.
Born as the last child into a family of 6, Blessing's journey into media began after a conversation with her father, inspired by women in media covering stories.
I believe that my journey into media started off with me yearning to be a TV presenter, specifically when it came to newscasting. I really did want to be a newscaster because I felt like, I saw the admiration that my dad had for female newscasters. I felt like he was impressed with the fact that they would take certain risks, like going to war zones to present information to people. I also found it really important that when people were, ignorant or didn't know what was happening across the world, that there are certain people that were at the forefront bringing information to people. I felt that that was amazing. It was something I really felt impacted by. It was something I wanted to do for myself growing up. So initially, that was the lane that I was going to take with life. I was going to do that. But then the way that I got into radio actually was kind of intriguing. So like I said, that was my lane and that was what I was going to pursue. So I went to school for that.
She furthered her education by studying broadcasting and journalism in Malaysia. And upon returning to Nigeria, she interned at a radio station and fell in love with the medium.
So I went to study broadcasting and journalism at Lim Kok Kong University in the country of Malaysia. And while I was there was, of course, a lot of focus on TV presenting and journalism, print media, and things like that. However, I did feel like I wanted to be a well-rounded individual when it comes to media. And so because of that, I took initiative and I decided when it was time for the internship part of, studies, that I would actually do it in radio. So when I did have a chance, I came back to Nigeria to do my internship for a couple of months, and I did it in a radio station. And as they say, the rest is history, because as soon as I did that, I just fell in love with radio. I fell in love with the craft. I enjoyed it so much. There was something really liberating and freeing about the fact that, I was presenting solely with my voice. The fact that I had to paint a picture for people with the way that I was speaking. And ever since then, like I said, it's just been a thing of the past. And now I've been doing radio for so many years now. In fact, I think I'd have to calculate when exactly I started and how long I've been doing this for.
As an event host, Blessing initially struggled with being around large crowds. However, she took a step forward, faced her fears, and eventually fell in love with event hosting.
So with event hosting, that was definitely something that I did not think I would ever be doing, because I used to be quite intimidated by large crowds. And of course, if you're an event host, you have to stand in front of large crowds all the time. So with the job that I do, you would actually get a lot of people offering you event positions. But I always turned them down in the beginning. I always was honest, like, I think I'm a bit shy. I don't know that I'd be able to command a crowd or speak to a crowd. I don't think it's for me. And, just like with the way I just fell into radio, I fell into it once where I had no option but to be there for a friend and host her event, as the person that was meant to do it was not available. And once I did it, I think it was just like ripping a Band-Aid off. I realized there's really nothing to be worried about. You're just speaking to people, letting them know how an event is going to flow, and, entertaining them in the process. And once I did it once, did it twice, severally, it just became part of me. And to be honest, I feel like there are days where I wonder, am I even more of a host than, a presenter on TV and radio? So yes, it's something I fell into, and now it's something I absolutely love doing.
Blessing has a passion for revamping spaces. This experience has become an integral part of her entrepreneurial journey, and what started as a hobby has been monetized over time, becoming a side hustle.
So my entrepreneurial side, to be honest, I feel like I wear many hats in that regard. I do a lot of work, whatever comes to me and I feel like, resonates with me, I will do. But when it comes to the major hats that I wear, I will say that I do a lot of work when it comes to revamping spaces and of course interior design as well. Again, this is something that started off with me as a hobby as a child, just feeling like there's something really exhilarating about seeing a space that's been destitute or forgotten or just left bare and, revamping it, bringing it back to life, changing the outlook of it. It's just something I've been obsessed with since I was a child. And so when the opportunities came later in life for it to be a paid gig or a paid job, fantastic, I took it. And
Blessing has faced challenges in the industry, particularly as a woman. She has encountered situations where women are sidelined due to cost, and even when she started, her age and lack of experience were significant obstacles.
I will say, I don't want to be one to take the stereotypical route and say, oh, it might be a little harder for women when you're in this industry, but it is a little harder. For instance, in like the hosting aspect of things, there are people who would tell you, oh, we would love to, take you on as a host, but women cost more because they have more to worry about, their hair, their makeup, their outfits. But when it's like a male host, he can wear the same black suits to 10 events and nobody would bat an eyelash. So I do know that when it comes to situations like that, when you feel like you want to ask for more pay because you have a lot more to bring to the table or have to do for yourself, it tends to be met with, maybe we should just get a man. It would be much easier. So that is definitely something that I've faced. I do also remember, this is regardless of gender, when I first wanted to start working, a major milestone that I kept meeting was age and years of experience. I remember trying to get my first job in radio as soon as I came back to Nigeria. I was hungry for it. Like I just wanted to work. And everywhere I went to was like, oh, you have to have 5 years minimum experience. You have to be over, because I actually graduated really early. I graduated at 19. You have to be a certain age, you have to be this and that. I'm like, I'm not just going to go sit in my room and wait till I'm older for me to start working. And how do I get 5 years experience if I'm not giving any job offers? So I remember that was something that I did meet eventually. And it's something that even now when I've been in places of authority or places of work where I can give another person work, I try not to say, oh, I won't employ you, I won't give you this responsibility because of your age or because you don't have experience, because I know how limiting that can be and how it felt for me. So I tend to encourage people to train people. Rather than expecting someone that's already perfect, already trained because they have all these years of experience, I encourage people to train people who might not necessarily have experience, but have the will to actually work really hard. So those are a couple of things that I experienced.
Her role model is her mother, whom she admires for her strength and capability in navigating insurmountable situations.
When it comes to life overall, I would just be lying if I wouldn't say that I don't look up to my mom. I absolutely look up to my mom. I feel like my mom she's had to like step into like serious roles in life, and I've seen her do certain things where she's had no experience, like I said, or she just had to acclimatize to a lot of different situations in life. I remember there was a time she had to take over my dad's company. My dad, being a civil engineer, constructed a lot of roads, dams, houses, and things like that. She had to take over the business at some point, having no background in that. But she was she had a lot of wisdom, and she employed, people who did have an idea of what they were doing. She got them to run the company, basically paid them their part, and of course made sure that the company wasn't something that just went away simply because, she had to come and take over the company. So there are several things that I could, use as an example, but my mom is my absolute like picture of what it is to be a woman that is capable and ready to stand up for herself and other people in situations where it is needed. So
looking ahead, Blessing aspires to carve a deeper niche for herself in the next 5 years and continue doing what she loves.
Well, in 5 years, I hope I am still doing the kind of work that I love. I hope I'm a lot more settled in what it is that I do day to day, because right now I kind of am all over the place. I do everything. Like I said, whatever resonates with me. I like to take up challenges a lot. Even if I've, like I said, not done something before and someone offers me the opportunity, I take it as a challenge, like, let me try this out. So I feel like by then I should have carved like deeper niches for myself. And yeah, like I said, I hope I'm still doing something that I love.
She draws inspiration from a quote that says, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the presence of fear and being able to move on."
So my favorite quote or mantra in life, I feel like if anyone watching this knows me very well, they already know what it is that I'm about to say. I can't even remember. I don't even know who exactly said this quote, because every time I've come across it online, it's always been anonymous. But it's a quote that says, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the presence of fear, but still the will to go on. Because growing up, like I said, being somewhat shy, being somewhat reserved, I used to always like be so hard on myself, like, oh, why didn't you do that? Why can't you do this? Or why are you so scared and stuff like that? So I always thought that the people who were able to do certain things, like I said, I used to have a fear of crowds. And when they would ask me to go on stage in school, in high school or primary school, I'd be like, oh, no, no, no. And I see other kids like, just do it. Like it's nothing. I used to be so hard on myself, like, why can't you be like that person? And I'd be like, it's because I'm scared. And scared people don't really go far in life. These are the type of things I used to say to myself. But that quote made me realize that it's not that the people who do those things are not scared or they never get scared in life. They do have fear because they're human beings, but they still decide to go on and do it irrespective of their fear because they want to do it. And like I said, that is what happened in the case of me now being a host, where I can stand in front of 1,000, 2,000 people. I don't even feel like it's anything anymore at this point. Because even though at some point I was scared, I still chose to do it and ignore my fear. And that is why something good came out of that. So that is a quote that I take with me.
Blessing's advice to younger women is to face their fears and practice their skills, emphasizing that practice makes perfect.
So my message to young girls out there would be, whenever you find yourself in situations that intimidate you, like I said, I did have a point in my life where I used to be scared to do certain things that I do so well and with ease now. But whenever you find yourself in situations like that, one voice that might constantly try to, or one thought that might constantly try to discourage you is, you might not be good enough to do this, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this. And one thing that has always helped me in life is relying on the fact that I've done it before. Is relying on practice. So one thing that will always develop you as a human being is practicing. It's not a joke or a lie when they say practice makes perfect. Once you've done something a couple times, it's easier to silence that voice and say, well, I've done it before and I didn't die. Or I've done it before and I did it well. Or I've done it before and it was okay. The more you do something, the more skilled you become at something. So my advice to everyone out there is, if there's something that you love or you want to do, keep practicing, keep working at it, and eventually it'll be a piece of cake.